More reports and rumors swirl around the possibility of the Canucks trading J.T. Miller, and Rick Tocchet provides injury updates on Thatcher Demko, Quinn Hughes, and Elias Pettersson, which will demand fans stick it out just a little bit longer before this road trip. We're going to be breaking down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you don't miss any updates surrounding the Canucks as we head into a game against Nashville tonight before a little road trip. And with that, let's hop into the first topic today, which is J.T. Miller trade rumors. So, Elliot Friedman, he's back at it again after a little bit of a suspension, and now he's saying that JT Miller hasn't asked for a trade, but he thinks JT would consider things if it were presented to him, but management has got to get to him to present it. And he went into full depth with the quote saying, I believe everybody knows that Vancouver are open to listening. We covered that in one of our last episodes, where I believe that they have already on both players and will continue to do so, but I still think that's Vancouver's preference, is that both of them grow up and figure it out. Obviously, this is talking about the major elephant in the Vancouver Canucks locker room, which is the problem between Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. He did go even further, saying the fact that it's still a thing, the feud, has begun to spill over into other parts of the organization. And to me, it's clearly bothering Coach Rick Tocchet. That is still a thing. I believe it's bothering Captain Quinn Hughes. That's still a thing, and now it's spread to where everybody has to deal with it. And this is something that we talked about a few times over the past few episodes, where it's not only between these two guys now, it's starting to take a toll on other players in the locker room, where guys like probably Connor Garland is going to have to deal with some of the fallout of this in the locker room and seeing these tensions heighten between them. That's going to take a toll on his game. Kiefer Sherwood is probably going to take a toll on his game as well. It seemed to take a toll on just this locker room or this team dynamic, where when JT Miller was, yes, he was unfortunately gone for a bit, but while he was gone, we did see a lot more smiles on this bench. It's not any indication on what that was, but it just kind of speaks for itself. But when you look at just continuing over where Coach Tocchet and Quinn Hughes a few weeks ago were talking about the rift between them, and they were saying, we just got to keep it on the yellow brick road. Hopefully they can solve it between themselves. And then the next day was when Pettersson and Miller were saying, no, it's not a problem. So now there was a lot of conflicting reports coming from players, coaches, and the ones involved with it. So obviously this thing has started to take a bit of a toll on the locker room. And now we have multiple reports that Miller would consider waiving his non-movement clause for the right situation, but Canucks would have to initiate the conversation with his camp. Basically open to a trade, but that doesn't want to ask for one. Not looking to play hardball if the Canucks want to move him. So this is a lot of things where JT Miller has found himself at the eye of a lot of different conversations surrounding trades, no movements, as well as what his departure was about. But one thing that can't be disputed is when you look at the 5-on-5 ice time in the game against Seattle last night, where do you see him at on that list? All the way down at the bottom at 10 minutes and 1 second. And this is considering that he scored our shootout winning goal. So yeah, he wasn't out on the ice very much. He was out a little bit in overtime, but not too much. But then he brought it home for us to get the shootout win. That was hopefully something to kind of silence the noise a little bit at least. Maybe he goes into this game, maybe he scores a goal, and we're just able to see a different kind of Canucks team against a horrible, horrible Nashville team in a game that we should absolutely destroy them. It shouldn't be nearly as competitive of a game as it was last night. Hopefully it doesn't go to another overtime and we have that stressful 5 minutes and then going into a shootout where we finally got a shootout win last night. Hopefully tonight we're just able to wipe the ice with the Preds and we just move on to the next game on the road trip and get that going and come back to Rogers Arena with more momentum. But what do you guys think about these trade reports with JT Miller? Do you guys think that he's the reason that you have to move him and the reason why this problem has continued? Or do you think it's Elias Pettersson that you have to move on from? Love to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments. That's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is Tocchet gives multiple injury updates. Now, the first one he jumped into was Thatcher Demko. He had some back spasms, so I don't think it's serious. You know the way back spasms are. It could be a day or two. I'm not sure. And this is coming off of how Thatcher Demko once again went down with an injury last night in the game against the Kraken, where it seemed like Noah Juleson might have had a bit of friendly fire on him and clipped him in the back a little bit by accident. And that led to Kevin Lankinen coming into the game cold as ice, but with ice running through his veins, making amazing stops. Yes, Seattle did have that third period comeback, but he held it down in overtime, held it down in the shootout, stopping all the shooters, and held it down whenever his forwards or defensemen weren't hanging him out to dry on a breakaway, where we've seen so many of those this season where the Canucks have a breakaway being pursued upon them, or just an odd man rush that they're having to race back to and they don't have the speed to get back to it. We've seen a lot of goals by opposition scored on breakaways this season. We want to make sure that those stop. Kevin Lankinen thankfully has been great at doing that and being a limited factor towards that. But you want to make sure that those don't happen at all. You want to make sure that your defense and your forwards aren't leaving your goalie out to dry and that they can do that. Whether it's Kevin Lankinen in net or Thatcher Demko, it doesn't matter. Make sure that your goalie is protected. But it's great to hear that Thatcher Demko is not going to be out long term. It's just a day-to-day thing, just some back spasms. Hopefully, this isn't a repeat of last time where they come out saying, yeah, it's not that serious of an injury. He'll be back, and then he's never back. We don't want a repeat of that, so hopefully this isn't what that is, and it's just a matter of days before we see Thatcher Demko back out on the ice and back in this Canucks lineup, so we don't have to call in Artur Shilovs on a red eye in from Laval like they are doing for the game tonight, where he's coming from Quebec all the way to Vancouver to be the backup for Kevin Lankinen tonight. So he's going to have a lot of jet lag to deal with, and he's going to have a lot on his plate if he is called into the ice. But hopefully Kevin Lankinen can hold it down, whether it's just hold it down between the pipes and that Shilovs doesn't have to come in relief of a lot of goals or, God forbid, an injury. Hopefully the Canucks can just continue to bolster it down. But Tocchet did go into, as well as Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson's injuries, saying him and Quinn aren't in tonight against the Preds, but they're getting close. Petey's been skating, Quinn a little bit. They'll be with us on the road trip for sure. So this is a great sign for the Canucks as they are heading out on a 5-game road trip out east, where they will take on the Montreal Canadiens, Washington Capitals, Carolina Hurricanes, Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Winnipeg Jets before returning to take the LA Kings on home ice January 16th. So having Quinn and Elias Pettersson going on this road trip bodes so well for their chances at returning on this road trip, because if they weren't going on this road trip, obviously we wouldn't be seeing them back until January 16th at the earliest. But the fact that they are going to be going on this road trip, hopefully we do see them back in, hopefully maybe at least the last 2 games. Montreal, they're not doing that great this year. Washington, they're on fire with Ovi just hell-bent on trying to get that Gretzky record. So Carolina, that's going to be a tough one. So hopefully you have them back for Carolina, Toronto, and Winnipeg, because those are going to be the toughest games of those 5 games on the road trip. So hopefully they're back for at least by the Carolina game. I'm not expecting them back for the Montreal game right away. It's probably going to take a little bit, but maybe we see one of them return before the other, or both of them at the same time. What do you guys think is going to be the first player to return? Do you think they're both going to come back at the same time, or do you think one's going to come back before the other? If it is the latter, let us know which one you think. And this is a team that needs both these guys back ASAP. In the 2 players' absence, the Canucks are 1 win, 1 loss, 1 overtime loss, and will play for game number 4 without the 2 players when they take on the Predators this evening. It's going to be a big game for the Canucks, just because it shouldn't be a big game because we're playing the Predators. I can't say it enough how bad the Predators are. Jeff Patterson saying tonight, Predators-Canucks matchup is a battle of the fewest road goals by the Predators with 38 and against the most home goals allowed with the Canucks at 73 goals allowed. We should not allow the Predators to win this game. They are a really bad team, and this is a game where it's not so much a must win as far as the standings are concerned. It's a must win for morale. If you can't pull off a win against the Predators after coming off of a shootout win against the Kraken, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be something that needs to be addressed before this road trip, and they're going to have to right that ship. But hopefully we are back here talking about another Canucks W and another, as few as there's been, another Rogers Arena home win. But what do you guys think down in the comments about the game tonight? Who do you guys want to see step up to the plate and really make it shine? What do you guys think about Eric Brandstrom being healthy scratch again in exchange for Guillaume Brisebois? What do you guys have to say about it down in the comments? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.